You can talk would be great. That's
You can
easier than having them all try and do something.
Putting myself in the
Move in this way. We're gonna try and get us all
There aren't
inside.
gonna be any spiders.
We don't want to have to go through it twice.
That's still better than a college dorm.
I've been in college dorm, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Try being next to a pool room sometime.
It is. Look at that.
I still wake up at night.
won't
I swear
bump
I
your
can
head.
feel your balls.
I call it the Holly House.
So, everyone.
Nice.
So this is the Romero cabin. This was a pretty typical homestead cabin, and this is kind of the original. It is the original design. It's just that this style of cabin had to be rebuilt every 20 years, meaning you take everything apart. So because of that, there are only 2 original items in here. The other items are all things that the Historical Society had in their archives or bought from antique shops. So the 2 items are the stove. Obviously, when they left, they weren't exactly given a lot of notice. So they left the stove because that probably took one entire trip just to drag that up here. And each trip probably took a few days up some pretty bad roads that are just totally impassable in winter. So they left the stove, and the other item is that picture in the corner that was in the cabin. They took it out, and then the Romero family gave it to the Historical Society, I should say, because they heard that they were putting furniture in the cabin a few years ago. So this cabin was not originally here. It was originally on lab property. Originally, it was right by what would be an access road to one of the lab sites. The lab expanded that road in the 80s. I want to say it was 1985. They moved it over here because this was in the way, and they figured, it's a historical building, and if we can, and we can make it not be our problem. So,
I remember when they put it in the truck.
But this was a pretty typical cabin, and this was just a summer home. Most of the homesteaders up here were Hispanics who had homes down in the valley, Espanola, San Ildefonso, that area, who they could go down there for the winter, because the winters were and are quite harsh. Because you look around, you see all the holes in the chinking. This wouldn't survive. Those homesteaders that did attempt to live here year-round, it cost a lot more. It just wasn't as economical, and all of them eventually failed or sold out or whatever. But the homesteaders that stayed here just for the growing season, April to maybe, I don't know, September-ish, they would come up here, grow whatever crops they could, because the soil up here is pretty bad. Grazing livestock was another big thing, because you can't really see it here, but if you go hike a trail or something, there's a lot of grass, a lot of good grazing. They would have also maybe worked for the ranch school when that was in operation, hunted, trapped, maybe fished, but that depends on where you are.
So what were they growing up here?
Mostly cash crops. They had, as I said, they had more established houses and farms in the valley that they would go back down for
Beans or corn, or what do you know?
I mean, they would have grown some of that, but they wouldn't have grown, they wouldn't have just solely, they wouldn't have grown a lot of stuff, because this was all,
Things
they
they
would have
could
gotten,
sell. Yeah.
they would have gotten all this land with the Homestead Act of 1862, I believe, which it limited the number of acres you could get, and in this area, you were very limited in what you could get because the streams were really only in the canyons, and you had to lug water up from them.